And so, at long last, we have a result of what was, in the end, a fairly long match. And it ended up becoming much longer thanks to multiple breaks that were taking place due to rain. But breaking news update for you guys, the India under 19 cricket team have beaten Bangladesh pretty handsomely in the end by 18 overs in a match that was hit by rain and which saw a DLS adjusted target take place. We'll walk through all the major talking points of the match in a bit, but first off, let's get the most obvious thing out of the way. After the match was done and dusted, the players did indeed end up shaking hands. So, if any of you are looking for any sort of a controversy over there, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Nothing of the sort. They shook hands, and there's no problem in that regard at all. So, there is, in fact, no issues when it comes to them shaking hands, not shaking hands, nothing. They shook hands. End of story. Now, as for the match, and this is really where it becomes a match of two halves. Before the rain delay, the longest one which came before in the evening time, and of course the match that was after. Because again, if you are Bangladesh and you're looking at this match, you'd feel that the rain delay really did you in, and it's easy to understand why. Because again, they managed to restrict India to a target of to a total of 238 in 48.4 overs. India couldn't even play out their 50 overs and needed a couple of big knocks from a Vaibhav Suryavanshi and Abhigyan Kundu to ensure that they could get a respectable total on board. Suryavanshi got 72 of 67. Abhigyan Kundu got 80 of 112. But beyond that, there were really very poor contributions from the rest of the batting order. In fact, Ayush Matre, the skipper, only got 6. Vedant Trivedi was dismissed for a golden duck. Vihan Malhotra got 7 of 24. So obviously, there was a fair bit of lack of contributions or non-performances from the top and middle order, which could have actually cost India on another given day. And I dare say that whilst India can rightfully celebrate this particular victory, a big assist must go to the rain, because again, 238 meant that Bangladesh had to chase down 239 at first of 50 overs. However, the major issue was that there were multiple rain delays, and by the time the final rain delay was done and dusted, they ended up getting a DLS adjusted score. Why? Because they had only played out 17.2 overs at that point in time. So 17.2 overs meant that there was no way that the match could be constituted as a result. But because they were able to get the ground ready on time, they could have actually played more overs. So they got a DLS adjusted target, which was 165 in 29 overs. Now, where the problem really comes about if you're Bangladesh is that at that point in time, it basically changed the complexion of the match. Prior to the rain break, when 17.2 overs were done and dusted, at that point in time, Bangladesh were ahead of the asking rate and had only lost 2 wickets. 2 wickets down and with 8 wickets in hand, and the asking rate was about 4.5. They were operating at an over 5. It was very much in the bag. And if they had continued playing that way, low risk, continue to rotate the strike, get the occasional boundary, match was done and dusted for all intents and purposes, because regardless of the age group at this point in time, I don't think 239 is a target that is giving anyone a lot of nightmares. However, what changed things was the rain delay. Why? Because when they came out to bat, the asking rate at that point in time was at about 7. So they were suddenly behind the asking rate after the DLS, and because of that, they needed to play a few expansive shots. Due to having to play a few expansive shots, they ended up throwing away their wickets, and they threw away a lot of wickets. Because here's the thing: at one point in time, Bangladesh were it was a very good position they were in. They were 62 for 2. 62 for 2 in 12 overs, and they were very much cruising. From 62 for 2, they ended up getting dismissed for 146. So basically, they lost 8 wickets in the span of about 80 odd runs, which is again pretty typical of Bangladesh when it comes to high pressure situations. They do tend to lose their heads a little bit, and that's exactly what happened in this case. An absolute collapse really from them, because whilst the asking rate was upped a bit from 5, they needed to go from 5 to 7. It was still possible if they managed a couple of good overs where they got, like, say, 10, 12, 14, 15 runs, and then actually played percentage cricket. It was not an impossible task. It became a little difficult, and that really was the key for them, is that it became slightly difficult for them to actually match the new asking rate, and because of that, the pressure clearly got to them. They were like, okay, no, we need to hit every ball. We need to ease the pressure on us, go for a few big shots. Because they went for a few big shots, they lost wickets in clusters. And the Indian bowlers, sensing that obviously the match was there for the taking, suddenly started bowling more attacking lines, luring the Bangladesh batters to kind of go for the big shots. And because they did that, well, they ended up losing out in the match because it was still in, they needed 22 of the last 2 overs. It's not impossible. No, by that point they'd already lost 8 wickets. So you knew at that point in time that the match was very much a foregone conclusion, and that's exactly how it ended up playing out. It wasn't a good match for them. For India, though, it's very good news because it means that they remain unbeaten in the start of the group stage. Remember, they beat USA in what was also a fairly low-scoring game, and now they have beaten Bangladesh, which means 2 wins out of 2, and things are looking really good for them as far as their prospects of making it into the next round. Again, you always want to be in a situation whereby you are not playing catch up when it comes to how it is that the tournament progresses later on. Of course, their next match is going to be against New Zealand. That'll be the one challenging match that they have. But again, it is a match that they can afford to even lose because they have a very good net run rate as things stand. It's at plus 2.475. And obviously, after that, once they make it through into the next round, that's when the testing times begin for them. But so far, they've done well. Yes, Bangladesh and USA are not exactly teams that are going to be lighting the world on fire. And I do think that the New Zealand game will very much be the major test for them. But they have beaten the teams that have been put in front of them so far, so that can only be seen as a positive sign. So that's it from us in this video. Again, the breaking news update for those of you just joining us. India beat Bangladesh in an absolute thriller, thanks in no small part to the rain and Bangladesh doing Bangladesh things, which was choking when the pressure was on. So that's the match update. Thank you guys for joining us on this video. As always, if you enjoy our work, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon. Follow us also on social media. We're on Instagram, X, and Facebook. And stay tuned for more such updates from the world of sport, and check out the other videos we put out as well. Plenty of content that has been coming our way through the day. For now, from my side, it is